here. All right. So I would like to welcome everyone to our next chat, Industry or Wasteless World Talk with Bill McClain. And I will start with a story which just now happened to me 2 days ago. I have a very early morning workshop webinar in Philippines at 3 in the morning. Never started so early, but of course it's six hour time difference, so they started at 9. But what was great, it was members of 23 universities in Philippines in one event. So generally they break the silos between the universities on this. And what was very strange for me, they started the complete event with a prayer, which I never saw before, and with a national anthem. And that was very interesting because we spent almost 3 hours together, but it was unbelievable, full with energy, and the right questions came at the end and so on. But I really like, and I told them several times, that they really break the silos, because usually I meet one university, maybe 2 maximum, but never 23. And I just check after, and in Czech Republic, there are 26 public universities and 42 private universities. So generally with one event, beat Philippines completely, the Czech high education system.
Great story. That is an event, a seed planting event. You plant so many seeds in people at a time in their lives when they are trying to understand this crazy world as they're young, becoming adults, and they're searching for answers. And without this sort of input to them, the answers they will find will be the answers that are handed to them or fed to them by the institutions who want more good workers. That's just my humble opinion.
It is exactly the right. They asked about this generally. So this is, you see from the questions which are asked at the end, you see whether they did understand or not. Right. Generally, it was an event which about Industry 5.0 and aim to the IT, or the universities has been connected through the IT. So they probably expected me to be more in the IT. I touched the digital ways and the others, but what was great at the end was really the right questions. And I was so happy and proud, of course, tired, unbelievable, tired after this long time, but it was really great. Then I worked the entire, I get to bed, I think at 10 in the evening, but it started with such a great energy that I was not tired at all. So I recommend to everyone.
A question for you, Michael, is how long have you been doing these seminars at universities?
For 5 years. 5 years.
5 years. Okay, good. Then have you had the opportunity to meet recently with somebody that you presented to 5 years ago?
We did not meet directly, but I was contacted. It was not a university student generally, it was a college student, and it was even longer. So on colleges, I deliver, I think 7 years or so. And it was last year, he gave me a call. He was not the first one, but he said, Mr. Rada, you had delivered a keynote to our school. I do not remember, of course. And I am just now, I start working, and I would like to have your opinion because it's horrible in here. And we have a discussion, and it was really great because he started to work for some really big automotive. And he said, it's completely different than we have been learned in school. Only I remembered immediately when I entered, I I remembered your words. So I find you on LinkedIn and on social media, and I get in touch. Can you help me? So we have discussed. I provide him some needed answer, and yeah, we are in touch, and he's implementing step by step, and that's great. That's exactly the great. And just before this event, I have an interview or discussion for a student in Belgium. His professor asked me whether I can support, so we have a half an hour, a quarter to hour discussion, and it was very interesting. At the end, we finished with this sign because it's all the time so fascinating for me that there is no time gap, like between me and granddad. No time gap. It's like friends sitting next to each other, not just drinking beer, but talking serious matters in a way that both of us have learned. And this was exactly this feeling with this student. And I'm sure it's not the last time when we talk together. So that's great. This is generally the disadvantage of book in a printed form, that it's not direct interaction with the reader. That will be great.
It would be interesting. Please keep notes on these early students that you had and their reaction now 5 years later after these words that you spoke have percolated, have developed further, and I imagine you're going to get many different sorts of responses and answers, but there's going to be some commonalities. And so I would like to understand, I'd like to hear what those differences and those commonalities um, are, because that might give you some idea how to add to your message. If you know how it evolves, if you can see the future and then change the message a little bit to make it evolve a little bit differently or more impactful or whatever, but that could be a very good feedback, and I would love to hear that.
It is, and generally I use it not only for the keynotes, I use it LinkedIn in this case. It's generally a very good tool because it keep the information where you get connected with someone. If you look at the chat, so you see
Right.
where you get connected. And just 1 hour ago, I realized that my profile was visited by a lady who contacted me the one day after I started the Age of Industry 5.0 in India, August 21st, 2020. And she contacted me the next day, and we have a chat about this generally. And she contacted me today. She visited my profile today, and she is in the administration of Australian government responsible for water and something. So generally exactly what where she can apply what I have delivered. And that's quite common that the people came back and ask. And the only topic that some of them come back just to watch, but some of them start the communication, and this is exactly what I would like, really leave the impression in the people that they can contact me anytime, and as soon as I will be available, I will get back to them and we will start communication, because it was one of the great part in the discussion with the Belgian student was we touched the human aspect. And he said, I saw it on your title, on the business card. I said, yes, it's the only. And he said, yes, this is exactly what I would like to have. Not presidents, not managers, humans. And we goes into the politics and so on. And you know, I have just recently asked Antonio Guterres generally to start the dissolving of the United Nations. You know, I have discussed this topic many times with my granddad, you know it. And he said, because he was there when United Nations was born in 1945, he was 22 years old. And he said it generally a few years after it stopped functioning. because there was the first war, and then was the Vietnam War and many other, so generally 650 war conflicts, not counting Ukraine. And it's 77 years from now already. 77 years where we have not been able to really deliver and keep an eye on the humanity, which was one of the aspects, and on the peace, which was the second aspect. And I just checked a few minutes ago, I checked the turnover of United Nations, 2010 till 2021, growing. But do you know what is the amount?
No, I haven't the foggiest
It's
idea.
official numbers on the site of United Nations. So what I will say right now, it's official number. 65 billion US dollar is the turnover in 2021. And in 2010, it was 40, which means in 11 years, it grew up 60%, 60.1 something. And this is a turnover of an organization which does not produce anything, does not develop anything, does not sell anything, and still spend the entire turnover for own organization. There is something wrong. So generally, I name it in one of my blog, I name it that the David, which was represented by the United Nations in 1945, the small David does not get in the fight with the giant. It became the giant, unfortunately, and adopted the habits of the giants very fast, very fast. And that's why it has no place here, because we do not have to waste time and money on similar. So I ask politely, let's say, Antonio Guterres, who is the responsible one, to start with the process. It shouldn't be sudden. It should be start of the process. And we have to, and that was the question, the first one which came, what will be the follower? What will be the next? And that can be quite interesting, a discussion, because I don't want that the same organization is being born with a different name. This is common what happens generally.
Right.
It must be, I call it a few years ago, I call it not United Nations, but United Humans. If the nations cannot unite, humans will be able to. But of course, I'm not sure it was just one of the answers. And what I know, I do not want to repeat the same mistakes.
My mind is making the comparison between the nations that belong to the United Nations and the people in a, yes.
Jusé is just joining, so I will admit him. Hello, Jusé.
Hello, good afternoon. How are you? Good morning, Will.
Jose, good to see you again.
Sorry, the camera is not on. Sorry.
Much better right now. We are just now speaking. It will be topic for you because you have asked where I posted about the United Nations and so on, about this development. And Bill has something to say because he would like to compare it to something.
Okay.
Trying to eliminate the silos, or to eliminate the United Nations. The United Nations is very powerful, and it's made up of powerful, influential people. And to eliminate that, you are asking these people to give up their power and become a human. And so my comparison, my career has been in, up until this point, has been in small manufacturing companies, usually small family-owned manufacturing companies, 100 people, 200 people, 300 people. And after they've been with the company for a little while, all of the managers have developed silos. It's more difficult for a worker on the line to develop a silo, but so it's full of silos. And when the board of directors or somebody tries to change that. Sometimes they'll bring in a new CEO, someone who has all the right ideas. But the challenge is how do you eliminate the silos, or at least reduce them, and retain these people, because they have a certain value, but they're going to fight you and they know the system, so they know how to use the system.
Yeah.
So with the United Nations, how do we eliminate that, and still retain the willingness to work together with the people from these United Nations? You suggested a minute ago, Michael, that if the nations cannot do it together, maybe the humans can do it together. And I would like to believe that's true. I'm looking for evidence of where that has worked.
The reason which you describe, I will let after this short entry, I will let Jose to say his opinion. But generally, this is the reason why I did not ask Jose Guterres to change United Nations, because that will be exactly the process as you described. The people will stay there, they will just get another function and so on, and they will still do the old things. This is why I asked him to dissolve, because it must be a new organization. Of course, it must have the power, but I think that if the power will be created from the bottom up, that will be the real power, because it will connect the people, not the giants only, but the people who are responsible.
So when that starts, then one of the weapons that the high managers will use will be what you describe as greenwashing. That is, the marketing people, and I'm a marketing person from way back, are trained to make bad actions look good and desirable, right? So that's the first thing they'll do. And when they do that, half of the world will say, oh, look, it's changing. This is going to be good. It's changing. When in fact it's not. It's just getting a new face. So they have many weapons and tools, tricks to use, so that in reality they don't have to change. So I read there was an interesting article from Finland this week about how their education system is different from the rest of the world, in that they specifically teach fake news and how to tell when it is fake news or very biased news, and they teach critical reasoning. In the U.S., when I was growing up, they actually taught critical reasoning, and they don't anymore. They teach, here's the facts that you need to know, and whichever party is in power changes the facts or greenwashes the facts to make it more palatable. So to get the UN to dissolve, it is going to be many steps. What's interesting to me, and then I'll shut up. I don't mean to be hogging the microphone, but what's interesting to me is that when you start saying this, Michael, about dissolving the UN, you're going to find people who agree with that for the right reasons, maybe some for the bad reasons, but for the right reasons, and that will grow. But I think we need to come in behind that call for dissolution. We need to come in and with our own form of critical reasoning. And one of the ways that we might start would be to have more discussions about the definition of humanity. Right. My big thing on humanity, and I also I copied you. I stole it from you, Michael. I also say in my LinkedIn profile, my title is human. Um, but if you look the definition of humanity, there are a dozen different words, and it's all circular because it's all human, humanity, of humankind, of whatever. It's circular, so it doesn't really say anything. And then when you ask somebody to explain it, they'll say, well, humanity is like love and brotherhood and doing good and words like that. But that's not all of humanity because humanity also kills people and makes wars. So you can't talk about one side and ignore that other side.
That's why I open it today. And Jose, what? So I think your last article, Jose, touch similar topic with your experience as you share your experience from the job.
Well, my thoughts about what is being talked here today are a bit not in a different direction eventually, which is okay. It's a great way to bring the spotlights to you, Michael, because to even for people to start thinking, and that's the big issue that the US and other countries have started to do with the education system. They understand that people cannot think above a certain level because they will start to understand the maneuvers in the background. That's very dangerous when people are conscious. They have reasonable and critical thinking, so they start to see between the hidden messages. So it's good to have great media or the media moguls lowering our consciousness and awareness to understand what's really being played out in the background. So what I think it's probably important, as you mentioned, United Nations, it's an utopia that will never work because there are always games being played in the background whenever New York or any other place they meet. And I'm remembering as well United Colors of Benetton, but what about United Humans? It's
Michael, you just said that just before Jose came on, you had came up, the two of you are thinking alike.
and United Humans means these are things about the waste, but also reducing the other waste that many people don't understand, that it's waste of time, but also waste about fear. So reducing fear and helping empowering people so that they have more consciousness, more awareness, they can start to think by themselves,
This is why generally I think I
expanding
posted.
their reach, their capacity to see beyond the obvious, or flipping the coin to the other side, as I say.
And this is exactly the way why I am so happy we are talking about this topic, because this is one of the topics which we have to talk, and the humans itself, that's the point. Because as I said last time, generally, we are born as a human. We will live as a human, but we have to live as a human as well. And this part, this middle part is generally missing, because we live as managers, as whoever generally, we live as titles. And this is why I think so it is so important. And I do fully agree with you, Bill, that we do not have to see only one side. We have to see both sides or many sides, because they are not only two, they are like diamonds, so many facets and so on the plate. Of course, because every single one of us is unique. And this is why the nature came in a game. Again, nature does not care whether the leaf fall on a German border or on a Czech border. It falls down and it becomes soil later. So, and that we are different, yes, that's great. I cannot imagine to be same like you, as nice or as clever as Jose. No, I am Mike Rada. I will stay as I am. And this is my strength. And this is all the time what I teach the students, that if they would like to see someone who changed their future, they should look in the mirror, not in the screen.
Exactly. And some ideas were developing. Let me see if I still what's happening, but it's now being reinforced again with certain types of governments coming to power in Italy and other countries. Again, it's to repeat what has worked for centuries: divide to conquer. So create groups that, okay, those are our enemies. So create a, like, infused rage so that you fight without thinking, oh, these guys are enemies, we need to fight them. But can't we have a friend in Russia, a Russian friend? Why? Oh, Russians are the enemies. Really? So this is a subliminal messages that are being populated everywhere, so that these fights escalate. And where there is fights, there is chaos and confusion, and it's difficult to see properly. That's the purpose of these maneuvers.
You was not there last time, Jose, but we have a quite interesting discussion, as usually with Bill. We did not record it time, but we spoke about silos and breaking the silos generally.
Yeah.
And I put a hard question to Bill. What is the difference? Better to say, nature does not plan. That's fact. Have you seen a tree with have a plan in the leaves and to see what to do tomorrow? No, there is no planning. But still is here and grow for millions of years. Industries put planning as one of the core of the development. We have to plan every day, every minute, every and for 50 years or whatever. What do you think will bring industries closer to nature, which means to the style, which, what is the difference between these two? What is why the nature can do and the humans cannot do, or the industries? What do you think is this one, or there will be more, but this one special difference between these two?
I guess it's the aim of and the utopia of unlimited growth. It's always growing. Expand, 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 sell more, have more money. So if we respect the cycles of nature, there are times that it's to decline.
On the other hand, nature is growing as well for millions of years.
Well, no, nature is growing, but it has cycles. So it's now time to let the leaves fall. But you don't plan. If you are working in a company, you are responsible for a department. They ask you for your budget to be inserted in the global budget. I plan to reduce activity or productivity. You are killed. Boom. Even if the market is all crashing, you need to sell more. Why? This is crazy. And the mass production that started in the 50s with everything wanting to produce more and sell, that's what put us in this crazy world, I guess. If you want to sell more, you have to make other products become obsolete more quickly. Unless that happens, you cannot sell more. Mm-hmm. So instead of selling more, why don't you sell or serve different? Do different things.
Bill has a great answer. You can repeat it as well, but I will tell you what I think. Where is the difference? And I name it before. I think the difference is the existence of silos. We have 10 more minutes. So the existence of silos between the industries, because nature does not have silos. It falls down on the right, it falls down on the left, it will grow up slower or faster. It doesn't matter. it will
Yeah.
grow up probably. And that's what I think that generally is the biggest difference why industries has to plan, because they have the silos and I plan for me and he planned for him and so on. And this was my opinion. And Bill has a very interesting
Competition.
one about the overall power generally, which is still in the nature helping to keep the picture of everything.
So fierce competition drives this constant aim for growth and expansion.
Yeah, I think who writes those plans is fear and ego.
I sell
And
more than you. I have more market share.
I'm better than you.
I have more money. I'm better. Yeah.
I have a bigger car, bigger house, more.
Yeah. Yeah.
So ego, we can agree that ego is part of human, and we can say humanity. But is it really a part which should be supported?
Is it good or is it bad? Most everything is neither all good nor all bad.
Both sides. It has both sides all the time.
And this is why, exactly, this is the silo. Why should we judge whether it's good or bad? That's a silo. Why don't we take it as it is?
Right.
We broke the silo right now at this moment. That's no bad, no good. Generate this yin yang. Show it exactly how it's connected. So the bad one, part of the bad one is in the good thing, part of the good is in the bad thing. So, and that's exactly. So I am really happy that we discuss it this way in such a manner.
So how do we start the United Humans then?
It's already started. So generally, it's already started. I see it from the 9 years of perspective. The people are really changing, and the companies are changing. A lot of help, of course, COVID and the war in Ukraine. The bad things are helping to develop the good things. It was all the time in a history, and it will repeat again. Right now, it's important to deliver the message about the request about dissolving and the reason why I am requesting it. It's not that I just say dissolve. I put there the reasons, understandable to all, I think. And I think we have to put this message to the world. And then, and here I came back to Bill and to you, Jose, then we have to meet again and discuss more frequently what will be next. Because we cannot build the future on a bed and rooted groundstones. It must be new. It must be new, completely new. And probably it was here before in some way. I don't know. But let's do it from zero. Blue Ocean Project. That will be the United Humans. And that will be a great challenge for us. And
you
continue.
To ask me something, Bill.
Of course.
No, I'm there are many thoughts in 6 minutes. There's just too many thoughts that we need to go down many different paths. Because some people will argue, no, you can't get rid of the UN. That's the only place in the world where countries can actually talk to each other, even if they're not civil when they do it, even if they're at war when they talk. At least there's some place to talk. That's the traditional understanding of the UN. But I'm not sure that talking is good, because talking also allows the speaker a platform. It gives them a microphone to yell their either fake news or their propaganda or their marketing messaging or whitewashing or whatever. So I think we need to start from scratch and look at our definitions. We need to look at our assumptions. In fact, one time, maybe in the next few weeks, we can have a session where we just try to identify the assumptions that we as a world have made about the importance of the UN. Why is it important? What tools is it using, and how has that gone wrong? We need to look under the rug, as Michael would say.
Mm-hmm.
And only then are we going to start to understand where we might go. Let's look and see why it's not good. Let's look and see what we didn't understand about mankind, about humanity. What did we not understand that allowed us to get to the point where this powerful organization is filled with silos and greenwashing.
You mentioned a very powerful world that I think it's losing its meaning. I'm not
Its
sure
meaning is changing, Jose. It's
No.
changing.
Mankind, I'm not sure if there are many kind men these days, you know.
So somebody who has a dream, watch what happens to Ukraine when that war stops. I saw an article just yesterday that Japan is beginning to fund a lot of rebuilding plans for
Of
Ukraine.
course.
When that war is over, Ukraine is going to be a powerhouse, because of all the development. Unconstrained development is always constrained by what is our experience. We're always looking in the back at the chains that have defined us. Look at the SWOT analysis: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, desires. It's all what's happened in the past. Ukraine has no past. After this war, no institutions, no, right? I speak in hyperbole, and I apologize, but they're going to start from scratch, which means that they're able to say Ukraine of 2040 needs to have 5G every place and needs to have access to healthcare and access to education by everybody, not just the powerful, not just the ones who've lived here for 20 years, but every human that is in this territory. And there will be nobody there saying, oh, but what do we do with all of this investment that we've made in the education system and in the universities? They no longer exist. They're gone. Thank you, Putin, for that. That was a good thing. It's a bad thing, but it's a good. It will have some good, as you say, two sides to the coin. There were some good things to COVID.
Yeah.
So, anyhow,
one final reflection for me is countries and regions and areas that are attacked. They are attacked because they have something that the other seeks: resources like energy, oil or gas or nuclear energy or cereals or whatever. They have something that is attractable to the others. They don't have it, but they want to take it by force. I guess that's another case of that. It's not only expanding territory. If the territory is not good, if it's desert or just stones and rocks, they will not go and conquer. It's not worth it.
I would like to thank you both for today's communication, which I am sure will continue very soon again. Have a nice time, free of waste and waste in all its form. I will again share it with you, the recording. And I think there are great groundstones right now. I see at least 3 on which the United Nations can be built. So thank you for that.
United humans.
United humans. I'm very sorry for my mistake. And again, mistake is something which is human.
Of course.
Thanks a lot. We have to learn from them.
Bye-bye.
Have a nice
Talk
time.
to you next week. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
It finished.